Doctor's warning: masturbation after 65 can cause extremely harmful. Let's talk about something most people avoid, even though it affects millions. Yes, this might be an uncomfortable topic, but it just might be the most important conversation you've had all week, especially if you're over 65 and still enjoy a little private time. First, let's set the record straight. There is absolutely nothing wrong with self-pleasure. In fact, many health experts encourage it, even in older adults, because it can help relieve stress, boost mood, improve sleep, and even maintain a healthy connection with your body. So no, this isn't about shame. It's not about outdated morality. And it's definitely not about telling you to stop doing something that's natural, normal, and often beneficial. But it is about something that's often overlooked, something your doctor might not have told you yet. Because after a certain age, masturbation can have a very real, very harmful impact, and it has nothing to do with sex itself. It has to do with your brain, your heart, and your long-term well-being. Here's what doctors are now warning. As we age, the body doesn't process pleasure the way it used to. Specifically, the way the brain handles dopamine, the feel-good chemical released during sexual pleasure, can become imbalanced. When you're younger, your system has the elasticity and chemical resilience to bounce back quickly after a surge of dopamine. But after 65, your nervous system, hormone levels, and brain chemistry begin to shift. You become more sensitive to extremes, whether that's physical exertion, emotional stress, or yes, even sexual stimulation. That's where the danger lies. 2. Much stimulation, especially repeated in short time spans, can lead to something called dopamine fatigue or pleasure burnout. This isn't a made-up term. It's a real neurological phenomenon where the brain becomes less responsive to dopamine, leaving you feeling drained, moody, or depressed, foggy-headed, less motivated, strangely disconnected, and even, in some cases, physically ill or anxious. What's worse is that most people don't connect these symptoms to their habits. They think it's just aging or a medication side effect. But often it's a sign that the brain's reward system is out of balance from too much intense stimulation without enough recovery. And yes, this can come from frequent or overly intense masturbation. Again, this isn't about judging your choices. It's about empowering you with the full picture so you can enjoy your body safely and smartly, without unknowingly sabotaging your energy, your mood, or your health. Because the truth is, self-pleasure can be a part of healthy aging. But if you don't understand the risks, it can slowly chip away at your vitality, and most people don't even see it coming. So let's dive deeper into what's really happening and what you can do about it. Let's break it down. Because your body's needs have shifted, and your self-care needs to shift with it. And when you align your habits with that deeper awareness, something beautiful happens. Pleasure becomes nourishing again. Not something that leaves you feeling empty or overstimulated, but something that fills you up, gently, meaningfully, and on your terms. Doctors aren't saying stop, they're saying shift. Here's what most doctors and wellness professionals are really trying to say. Masturbation isn't dangerous, but ignoring your body's response to it can be too much intensity too often, especially without emotional connection or physical recovery, can take a toll. Not because of shame or sin, but because of simple biology. The nervous system changes, hormones shift, recovery slows, and the brain's chemistry needs more balance to stay sharp and stable. So when pleasure becomes compulsive or disconnected, it can turn from healing to harmful, without you even realizing it. The solution isn't abstinence, it's awareness. It's knowing that your sexual wellness is still important, still valid, and still yours. But like everything else in your life, it deserves more intention now. What real wisdom looks like. Real wisdom doesn't shame your desire, it guides it. It says, go ahead and enjoy. But make sure it's leaving you better, not worse. Stay curious, but stay kind to your body. Give yourself pleasure, but also give yourself rest, space, and a chance to reconnect with what really matters. Maybe that's slowing down. Maybe that's finding new ways to experience intimacy through touch, conversation, laughter, or creativity. Maybe it's just being more mindful about when, how, and why you engage in self-pleasure. Because pleasure, without presence, eventually becomes a burden. But when you bring your heart into the picture, not just your body, that's when you unlock the kind of wellness that lasts. You don't have to let go, you just have to tune in. So here's the bottom line. If you're still feeling desire in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, don't be embarrassed, be grateful. Be proud. Be aware. Just remember, pleasure is powerful, and power should always be used with care. Your body is still your home, your mind is still your compass, and your spirit, still full of life, love, and possibility. So stay mindful, stay curious, stay connected, and most of all, stay well. Because at this point in your journey, the goal isn't just to feel good for a moment, it's to feel whole in your body, your mind, and your soul, for as long as life lets you. And that's real pleasure. That's real wisdom. And that, my friend, is how you age like the rare gem you truly are. Let's break it down. Part 1. Yes, seniors masturbate. And they should. Let's get something out of the way right now. Yes, seniors masturbate. And no, it's not weird, shameful, or something to whisper about behind closed doors. It's normal. It's healthy. It's human. In fact, according to numerous studies, including surveys conducted by institutions like AARP and the Kinsey Institute, more than 50% of people over 65 still engage in some form of solo pleasure. And frankly, we believe that number is likely higher. Because if there's one thing older adults are good at, it's not talking about things people get squeamish over, especially when it comes to sexuality. But let's be crystal clear here. There's absolutely nothing wrong with continuing to enjoy your body, no matter your age. Actually, there's a lot right with it. Masturbation comes with real health benefits, many of which become even more important as we age. It helps relieve stress, both physically and mentally. It improves sleep quality by calming the nervous system. It triggers the release of endorphins and dopamine, which can improve mood and reduce feelings of loneliness or sadness. It helps regulate blood flow, especially in the pelvic region, which can prevent stiffness, dryness, or discomfort. It supports immune function by improving circulation and reducing cortisol, the stress hormone. And perhaps most importantly, it helps maintain a connection to your body as it changes. Because let's be honest, aging isn't always graceful. Hormonal shifts, physical limitations, loss of a partner, medications, and chronic stress can all take a toll on your sense of vitality and confidence. Masturbation can help counter some of that. It's a quiet, private way of saying, I'm still here. I'm still alive in this body and I still deserve pleasure. That kind of connection matters a lot. So why are we even having this conversation? Why the warning? Well, because like anything else in life, even the good stuff can get tricky if it's not done mindfully. And that includes masturbation. See, there's a growing concern among doctors and neurologists that as we age, the body responds differently to stimulation, particularly to intense, repetitive stimulation that floods the brain with pleasure. Chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. What once felt invigorating can suddenly leave you feeling drained, anxious, foggy, or even emotionally flat. That's not because something is wrong with you. It's because aging changes your brain chemistry, your recovery time, and how your nervous system processes intensity. So while masturbation should absolutely be part of the conversation about aging well, it also deserves an honest look at how it's affecting your energy, your sleep, your mood, and whether you're giving your body time to reset. Because when done with awareness, it can be a powerful tool for staying young at heart. When done without awareness, it can become a quiet drain on your vitality. Part 2. The hidden harm doctors are warning about. So what exactly is the danger here? It's not what most people expect. It's not some outdated myth about going blind or a moral judgment passed down from generations past. No, this warning is coming from medical professionals, neurologists, and geriatric specialists who are seeing something more subtle, more scientific, and far more important as we age. It's called dopamine burnout. Let's break it down. Every time you experience pleasure, whether from food, laughter, music, or yes, masturbation, your brain releases a feel-good chemical called dopamine. This chemical is what gives you that sense of reward, contentment, and that felt good. Now, in younger years, the brain can handle high spikes of dopamine pretty well. It recovers quickly. But as we get older, our ability to regulate and recycle dopamine starts to decline. The highs don't feel quite as high. And worse, the crashes that follow can feel a lot lower. This is where the warning comes in. Doctors are starting to connect frequent or intense self-stimulation with a noticeable drop in baseline dopamine levels among older adults. That means your brain starts needing more and more stimulation just to feel normal. And when you're not getting that rush, you can begin to experience some unexpected and unpleasant side effects. Here are just a few symptoms doctors have observed in patients suffering from dopamine burnout: low mood or sudden feelings of depression that seem to come out of nowhere, mental fatigue and brain fog, making it hard to focus or stay sharp, a lack of motivation, even for things that once brought joy, emotional numbness or disinterest in everyday life, heightened anxiety, especially around performance or sleep, disrupted sleep patterns or feeling exhausted, even after rest heart palpitations or increased blood pressure during climax, which can be dangerous in those with cardiovascular issues. And here's the tricky part. Most people don't link these symptoms to masturbation at all. They assume it's just part of aging or maybe stress or something else entirely. But in reality, their brain is struggling to keep up with constant demands for dopamine, and it's paying the price. To be clear, masturbation isn't the enemy. The problem isn't the act, it's how often, how intensely, and whether you're giving your brain and body time to rest and recover. Think of it like exercise. Working out is good for you, right? But if you push too hard, too often, and never give your muscles time to heal, you don't get stronger, you get injured. The same principle applies here. Your nervous system and cardiovascular health need space to breathe. And if you're not paying attention, what starts as a pleasurable release can slowly become a hidden drain on your energy, your joy, and even your heart health. So if you're over 65 and still enjoying your body, which again is a wonderful thing, just make sure you're doing it in rhythm with your body's needs. Pace yourself, tune in, and don't ignore the signs your brain might be asking for a break. Up next, how to tell when pleasure has turned into pressure, and how to find balance again. Part 3. What most people overlook, the addiction loop. Here's something you might not expect to hear. One of the most overlooked challenges seniors face when it comes to masturbation isn't physical. It's emotional and psychological. It's something doctors and therapists are now calling the self-soothing loop. And for many people over 65, especially those living alone or dealing with limited social interaction, this loop can quietly become a trap. Let's break it down. When we're young, we often have full schedules: careers, kids, relationships, social commitments. Our days are filled with activity, interaction, and stimulation. But as we age, those rhythms often slow down. Retirement, the loss of a spouse, distance from children or friends, and physical limitations can all contribute to a sense of isolation. That's when the body and brain start looking for a replacement, a way to feel something, a way to relieve emotional tension, boredom, or loneliness. And because masturbation releases dopamine and brings temporary relief, it can become the go-to solution. What begins as a perfectly healthy occasional act of self-care can gradually turn into a daily habit, or even multiple times a day. Not out of desire, but out of emotional need. That's the loop. And the problem with this loop is that it doesn't actually solve the underlying problem. It just patches over it. Briefly, here are some of the common reasons people fall into this pattern. Loneliness. using physical pleasure to replace emotional connection boredom, filling time in the absence of purpose or stimulation, anxiety, or sadness, calming the nervous system temporarily sleep issues, trying to relax before bed habit. Doing it simply because it's become part of the daily routine. Over time, though, something changes. It stops feeling good. You may still be going through the motions, but afterward, you feel drained, emotionally flat, even a little ashamed or confused. And because dopamine levels aren't rebounding like they used to, your mood stays low longer, your energy feels zapped, and your motivation disappears. That's dopamine burnout, but now it's tied to a deeper pattern, an addiction loop. And here's what makes it even trickier. Many older adults don't connect these symptoms back to the habit. They think it's their medication, or maybe a sign of depression, or just aging catching up to them. But for some, the fix is actually simpler than expected. Sometimes all it takes is recognizing the loop, stepping back and giving your brain and body time to reset, replacing the habit with something uplifting, like light exercise, a phone call with a friend, journaling, or even learning something new, can start to rewire that cycle. The goal isn't to shame or restrict pleasure, it's to bring balance back, to ensure that pleasure doesn't become a crutch, and that you're living with intention, not just reaction. Because at the end of the day, you deserve to feel good, not just for a few minutes, but all day long. Part 4. A doctor's balanced advice. So what are medical professionals actually saying about masturbation after 65? Are they telling seniors to stop altogether? Is it dangerous no matter what? Not quite. In fact, the overwhelming majority of doctors and geriatric health specialists agree. Masturbation is a natural, normal, and often beneficial part of aging. It helps reduce stress, improves sleep, and keeps you connected to your body, especially if you're navigating the hormonal changes, emotional shifts, or relational losses that come with later life. But, and this is the key, it has to be done mindfully. As our bodies age, the systems we once took for granted, like cardiovascular function, hormone regulation, and dopamine recovery, don't bounce back as quickly. That means the same habits that felt fine at 40 might hit differently at 70. So rather than eliminate the habit, doctors recommend refining it, rebalancing it, making it work for you instead of draining your energy. Here are 5 rules doctors often share for safe, healthy, and balanced self-pleasure after 65.1. Don't rush, breathe, and slow down as we age. Our hearts become a little less forgiving of sudden changes, especially those caused by excitement or stress. When you engage in any form of arousal, your heart rate increases, your blood pressure may spike, and your nervous system gets flooded with signals. That can be invigorating, but if you rush, it can also be dangerous. Doctors recommend slowing the entire experience down. Start by simply breathing. Focus on deep, relaxed breaths throughout the process. This helps your nervous system stay calm and prevents sudden spikes in blood pressure or heart rate. Remember, this stage of life is less about performance and more about presence. The goal isn't to get it over with. It's to connect with yourself and enjoy the moment without strain. Avoid overstimulation, especially porn. Let's face it, today's internet can deliver intense, hyper-stimulating content within seconds. While it might be tempting, especially during moments of boredom or loneliness, excessive porn use can do more harm than good. High-intensity visuals flood your brain with unrealistic expectations and massive dopamine spikes. And as we've discussed, dopamine regulation weakens with age. Instead, try dialing it back. Use memory, gentle fantasy, or even audio-guided sensual content. These slower, more brain-engaging approaches allow your imagination to work, rather than just reacting to overstimulation. They also help protect your dopamine balance, making the experience more mentally and emotionally satisfying. Space it out. Give your brain time to reset. Like any form of stimulation, be it caffeine, sugar, or exercise, your body needs time to recover. If you find yourself masturbating daily or more out of habit than actual desire, try spacing it out. Go from daily to every other day. Then see if every few days feels better. Doctors often suggest treating it like a gentle workout. You wouldn't hit the gym with maximum intensity every day at 70. You'd pace yourself. Same goes here. Spacing. Out self-pleasure gives your dopamine receptors time to reset, your nervous system time to rest, and your desire time to build naturally. The result? Better energy, better sleep, and often more satisfying experiences when you do indulge. 4. Watch for warning signs. Your body talks. Back one of the most important lessons as we age is learning to listen to the body. After self-pleasure, how do you feel? If you notice low mood, fatigue, brain fog, irritability, or a lack of motivation, those are signs your system might be overwhelmed. Doctors advise using these moments as feedback. Keep a little mental or written journal if needed. How did you feel before? How do you feel after? If you're not bouncing back quickly, or if it takes more effort to feel the same satisfaction, that's your nervous system asking for a breather. The fix might not be in a pill or supplement. It could just be in giving your body time to reset. 5. Replace the habit, don't just restrict it. If you've ever tried to cut back on something, you know how hard it can be when you leave a void. The brain doesn't like empty space. It likes alternatives. So instead of just saying, I need to stop this, shift the thinking to, what can I replace this with that still feels good? The next time the urge hits and you suspect it's more out of boredom or habit than real desire, try this. Go outside and take a walk, call, or video chat with a friend. Read a chapter of a new book. Try a creative hobby like painting, gardening, or journaling. Listen to relaxing music or an engaging podcast. Your brain thrives on variety. Pleasure doesn't only come from arousal. It comes from novelty, connection, creativity, and motion. When you feed it in different ways, the compulsive edge of the habit softens, and your mood, memory, and energy all benefit. In summary, masturbation after 65 isn't dangerous in itself, but how, when, and why you do it matters more than ever. With a few tweaks, more awareness, and a little self-compassion, you can keep pleasure as part of a healthy lifestyle without draining your energy or throwing your system off balance. At this age, it's not about perfection, it's about intention. And your body will thank you for every smart, gentle choice you make. Part 5. Let's talk about intimacy. Yes, even now. Let's step into a topic most people avoid. Intimacy. Not just sex, not just masturbation, but true, meaningful, soul-deep connection. Here's the truth. In our youth-obsessed culture, intimacy after 65 is often treated like a taboo, a punchline, or something we're supposed to outgrow. That couldn't be further from reality. The desire for closeness doesn't retire when you do. It doesn't vanish with age. If anything, it becomes more important, more sacred, and more healing than ever before. Let's make something clear. Intimacy is not just about intercourse. It's not about performance or frequency or keeping up with anyone else's standards. It's about connection, the warmth of another person's hand, the comfort of shared laughter, the safety of being seen, heard, and accepted just as you are. And yes, even after 65, especially after 65, that kind of connection can change your life. Why intimacy still matters. You see, the human body isn't just wired for physical pleasure, it's wired for closeness. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, gets released through touch, affection, eye contact, even gentle conversation. And oxytocin has been linked to everything from reduced inflammation to lower blood pressure, improved sleep, and better immune function. Think about that. A hug, a handhold, a shared story. Those aren't just sentimental, they're medicinal. So yes, masturbation may fulfill a physical urge, but it often can't replace what the heart still craves: intimacy, affection, and emotional closeness. For those with a partner, if you're in a relationship, whether married, partnered, or in a new chapter with someone special, don't underestimate the power of small, consistent gestures. Cuddle while watching a movie. Hold hands while you walk. Kiss good morning and good night. Talk. Not just about bills or grandkids or errands, but about how you feel, what you remember, what you miss, what you hope for. And yes, explore physical intimacy at your own pace. It doesn't have to be like it was in your 30s or 40s. It's okay if things are slower, gentler, or look completely different. What matters is the connection, the mutual respect, the emotional safety. That's what keeps the flame alive, not friction or frequency. You're not too old to be desired. You're not too old to be cherished. You're not too old to be touched with tenderness. For those who are single now, if you're not in a relationship, whether by choice, loss, or circumstance, intimacy is still absolutely within reach. It just looks a little different. Intimacy can be found in deep friendships, in a quiet moment, shared with a pet, in heartfelt conversations, spiritual practice, community involvement, or volunteer work. Every moment of genuine connection feeds the same part of your soul. You can even cultivate intimacy with yourself. Slow, mindful self-care, like massaging lotion into your hands, soaking in a warm bath, or writing yourself a love letter, isn't silly or indulgent. It's healing. It's human. And it reminds you that you matter. Don't let the world trick you into thinking intimacy belongs only to the young, or that it requires a partner, or that it ends when your body starts to change. Because, here's a little secret, the heart doesn't age the way the body does. It still longs. It still remembers. It still wants to be held, understood, and loved. What doctors are quietly encouraging. More and more geriatric specialists and mental health professionals are encouraging older adults to prioritize connection over isolation. Because the data is clear, chronic loneliness can be as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises your risk of dementia, depression, and even heart disease. On the flip side, people who stay connected, socially, emotionally, physically, live longer, feel better, and recover faster when setbacks hit. That's not just heartwarming, that's hard science. So when we talk about self-pleasure, it's worth remembering, it's one piece of the puzzle. But if it's become your only source of comfort or connection, your body might be telling you to widen the circle, to reach out, to rekindle old friendships, to sit closer, to open up, to say yes to coffee, to walks, to hugs, to shared meals, even when it feels easier to stay home. Final thoughts. From pleasure to presence, pleasure is good, connection is better. But the real gold? Presence. Being fully present with yourself, being fully present with someone else. That's intimacy, that's vitality, that's what helps you thrive well into your 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. So whether you're spending time alone or with a partner, remember this. The goal isn't just to feel good, it's to feel connected, seen, nourished, and alive. Because at this stage of life, you deserve nothing less. And no matter your age or relationship status, it's never too late to feel close again. Final thoughts. Pleasure with wisdom, let's be honest. This is a conversation that rarely gets the spotlight. And yet it matters now more than ever. If you're over 65 and still feel desire, if you still enjoy your body in whatever way works for you, if you still seek pleasure, not out of habit but out of connection to yourself, that's not just okay, that's something to be celebrated. Because that desire, that spark, it means you're still alive, still vibrant, still tuned into the parts of yourself that many let fade with age. It means your body hasn't given up on you, and you haven't given up on it either. But here's where the wisdom comes in. At this stage of life, it's not about restriction. It's about refinement, not about denying yourself pleasure, but understanding how to enjoy it without letting it drain you. See, your body speaks, and after 65, it speaks a little louder and a little clearer. That quick fatigue after climax, that dip in mood a few hours later, that foggy feeling or trouble sleeping after a long session of stimulation, that's your body waving a gentle flag, asking for a little more care and a little more balance. It's not saying stop, saying, listen, the new definition of healthy pleasure when you were younger, pleasure might have felt limitless, like something you could chase whenever and however you wanted. And truth be told, many of us did. But now, pleasure should serve you, not the other way around. This is the time of life when your energy is a sacred resource. Every spike in excitement, every surge in dopamine, every release should be followed by a check-in. How do I feel after? Am I energized or depleted? Was that about connection or just distraction? These aren't judgmental questions, they're wise ones.